The majority of what I collect are popcorn buckets. I just can't get enough of those things. But sometimes I find myself breaking my own rule and investing a little more money than I should into something that I gotta have, man. It's tough when you work full time and you have bills to pay and you're an adult, but like you also want to buy all the cool shit you couldn't buy as a kid. That's what's happening right now. This is the spare room. This is where the studio is. This is where all my cool stuff is. And this is where all the weird random crap is. I gotta do that laundry. It's all clean. I just gotta fold it. Just lazy. And so you've probably seen a few weird random things. That's Shaquille O'Neal in the background there. Got him from Staples. One of them that's in basically every video I do is my Action Comics poster. And I have it signed by 8 Supermen. And I got them all in 3 days. So I already knew in late 2024 that I wanted to go to the 2025 MegaCon, which was in February in Orlando, Florida. And I was obsessed with this trip. I booked it well in advance. I got super cheap tickets for flights, super cheap rental. My buddy and I went. My wife worked all weekend because she's responsible in any way whatsoever. And my friend and I just had fun for a whole weekend, and it was great. So here is the highlight of the trip. I printed, mounted, and laminated a foam core board. It's Action Comics #1. It has a glossy finish because of the laminate, and it's perfect for writing permanent marker on when you get someone to sign it. Plus, there's tons of room. So here's my story. So there was an article a few years ago about how 5 Supermen went to Rhode Island Comic-Con. Now, I went to that Comic-Con unrelated and, met some cool people, saw some cool vendors and stuff like that, but I never capitalized on the opportunity to meet all of them in the same place at the same time. And so I've always kicked myself over that. So when it was announced that 6 Supermen were going to MegaCon, 4 of which were the same guys from the last one, I was like, oh, damn, if I'm ever going to redeem myself, now is the chance. So I made this board and flew it all the way out there. I had to carry it on the flight. Super awkward because it's like kind of delicate. It's like firm and strong, but like you don't want to like drop it or break it or something like that. So I had to just awkwardly hold it in my cheapest possible cabin seat. I'm going to put it back there because it's fucking with the lighting. I looked at the schedule and I figured out what days each Superman were going. So I had a plan to meet all 8 Supermen in that one weekend. The con was from Thursday to Sunday, and all 8 Supermen had different schedules. Now, some of them were there all weekend, which was super convenient and helpful for me, but some of them were only there certain days of the week. But what I noticed was that none of them were only there Sunday, which means that I could conceivably do all of this before Sunday even begins. You don't want to spend the entire weekend of vacation just getting signatures. Oh my God, the game! So the game plan was on Thursday, I meet 3 of them. Friday, I meet 3 of them. And then Saturday, I meet the last 2. What I also did, which I was very proud of, and I'll still do if this keeps happening, is I've asked every person who plays Superman what marker they want, where they want to sign it, and what, if anything, they want to add. I leave it all to them because those are the questions when you go to a Comic-Con that the celebrity asks you. Where do you want this signed? What color do you want this signed in? So I was sitting there flipping the script saying, hey, you, the guy who played Superman, why don't you make your mark on this poster and you choose where you want to go? George Newbern was the first one I met, and I'm not kidding. He probably is my favorite one. I grew up with the Justice League animated series from the mid-2000s. That was my interpretation of the League. And that's the best Superman, I think, in animation. Maybe in live action. I don't know yet. I haven't seen the new one. I'm really excited for David Cornsweet, but damn, George Newbern just nailed every aspect of what I liked about the character. So I tell him all this, and he's very appreciative and stuff like that. It was funny. He actually had 2 lines. He had one for a prepaid line and one for a line that you could just walk up in. And I didn't have anything prepaid, so I just walked up. My line was empty. The prepaid line was still standing there, and everyone watched me just walk through the normal line, was like, what? And then, sure enough, the staff was just like, yep, you're next. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not even VIP. I just walked up to George Newbern with no line. That was the best thing in the world. So I walk up to him, and he is just a fantastic guy. He's just so nice. So I show him the poster, and his eyes go wide, like, oh, wow, it's such a cool thing. And he's like, oh, man, I hope you really just fill it all up, man. That's going to be so dope. He didn't say dope. He's in a different generation than I am. But, he's just the nicest guy in the world. And I asked him, where do you want to go? He chose off to the side here. He wanted to give other Supermen the chance to go, take more popular spots and stuff. Very humble guy. And then I asked him what he wanted, and he said, well, dark blue will match the suit. And it kind of does because the suit has those hash lines in it. So I was in and out of there in 10 minutes. The next person up was Yuri Lowenthal. That man had a line up to Timbuktu, and everyone in line was there for a Spider-Man collectible and maybe some other anime roles that he's done. Not a single one of those people in line with me had a Superman-related item because he voiced him in Legion of Superheroes. So he sees this thing with just one measly signature on it, and he lights up. And he's like, oh my God, this is the coolest idea ever. I don't think I've seen this done before, at least not with me in it, because he's not necessarily known for voicing Superman, but he did. It was a leading role in a series. And so I ask him where he wants to go, and he says, I want to go here because it's next to George, because he loves him so much, and they've obviously worked together in the past. That was late Thursday night, because the convention was like Diet open on Thursday. It was really first open on Friday, but they were like doing the Thursday exclusives and stuff. And so the hours were running out. Now, my buddy, because he's an absolute Chad, was waiting in the Brandon Routh line for me while I was in Yuri's line because, oh my God, both lines were crazy, but they were both there Thursday, and I had to capitalize on that before I went Friday, and it was way busier. So, sure enough, my buddy's texting me from the Brandon line saying, like, hey, dude, I'm getting close, man. Like, I don't want to have to, like, step out and you lose your place and start over, but, like, we're, like, 15 people away at this point. Now, I'm telling you this after the fact. That building had no reception, so I didn't know that at the time. So I'm there in the Yuri line, and I finally get it signed by him, and, we talk a little bit. I talked about the Spider-Man game, and then by the time I make it to Brandon Routh's line, he's like, dude, where are those? Like, I've been texting him. I'm like, what? And he shows me on his phone, and they're all like, unsent. Terrible. Anyway, before I ran over to Brandon Routh, I was talking to Yuri Lowenthal, and I mentioned real quick, I was like, dude, I've played so many hours of Spider-Man PS4, and there's this one, like, vocal clip that's, like, stuck in my head just at random points of the day. It's where you're throwing the manhole cover, and you just go, ah! Anyone who's played Spider-Man PS4 knows exactly what the hell I'm referencing. And he just starts laughing because he gets it. He knows exactly what the hell I'm talking about. And he's like, yeah, sure enough, that was one of them. And he said, sorry, this isn't about Superman at all, but he shared a story where he's like, I pitched to the producers when I was in that booth doing like voice lines when he was throwing the manhole cover, that one of the lines he would say is, my buddy Steve Rogers taught me this move or something like that. He said that they ended up cutting it, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense that they would cut it because they don't know like how they're going to connect it yet, if they're going to, so yeah. But no, it's just a really cool tidbit about a game that I've sunk many, many hours of my life into. Anyway, I'm in Brandon Routh's line now, and we have like minutes to go, and I make it over there. I'm like 10th in line because he stood there for me. Absolute Chad move. I have this strategy of when I go to Comic-Cons, I'll be the guy that waits in line for people so that I have the honor and privilege of going to the bathroom after like 30 minutes in line waiting for someone, and someone will hold my spot and return. I also smuggle in water so everyone in the line is all like hydrated, and you make friends. You make friends in line. We treat each other well. That's just how the Comic-Con culture works. So I get to Ralph's line. We got minutes to close. I'm moments away from meeting him, and when I finally do, dude, this guy is awesome. He looks basically the same as he's done for like the past 20 years. He just looks like a stallion of a man with that jawline. He's just a great guy. And he asks like, well, where do you want to go? I'm like, well, where do you want to go? And he's like, oh, well, it's your thing. And I was like, yeah, but you're Superman, so what the hell am I talking about? He played him. He figured, he'd give him the decision. So he's like, well, I usually go on top of the pictures of what I do. So he went right on top of the image there. I thought that was the coolest one. This, I still think, is the coolest signature on the whole poster. The design of it looks like a heavy metal album cover, but you could still make out all the letters, and that's like the consistency there. I love it. I think it's the coolest one, the coolest looking one. He chose that color to match the suit, which is different than George's darker blue to match the suit, because they both technically match the suit. To each their own, man. So that concluded Thursday, and I was very proud of that. But that was only 3/8 of the journey. So Friday rolls along, and I meet other people as well that don't have anything to do with Superman, like Matt Ryan from Black Flag. Oh, and Todd McFarlane from Black Flag, which I obviously took that video in one of my previous ones of the copy of Black Flag signed by both of them, which blows my mind every time. So Friday I was a busy boy. Zooming around that convention, trying to cut through as many lines as possible. Not cut lines, but like cut through them while walking to a different place, but the lines are so densely packed that like you can't even make by anyone without shoulders being ground up against. Crazy. Walking in a convention center is insane if you're not one of the staff members. So first one up is Tom Welling. I was like, what do you want? He's like, let's do black. I was like, sure. And I was like, where do you want to go? And without hesitating, my man did not miss a beat. He's like, well, I'll just, they're all too small. I'll go over here. And he wrote this huge signature all over the bottom, which is just like hilarious that he's like, George is like all kind of like humble, wants to conserve space. Tom Welling, fuck it. I'm Superman. Let's go. So I thought that was really funny. Directly next to Tom Welling, they're smart about this, are Tyler Hoechlin and Dean Cain. They're all 1, 2, 3 in a row because they know what they're doing. These people, the convention center knows that everyone wants to go for all the Supermen at the same time. It's the coolest thing ever. So I wait in Dean's line. Now, Dean is scheduled to be there at a certain time, and I was in the line waiting for him to be there, so I'm one of the first ones. My man doesn't show. 45 minutes after his appearance time goes by, and we're all just standing in line. The staff members start walking down the line with us, and they're just like, hey, what do you want from him? An autograph, a selfie, whatever. And they took notes. They ended up taking our money as well, just to like get the process as fast as possible, get all the bullshit out of the way, so it's when he gets here, it'll be fast and easy. But even then, they do all that. 20 more minutes go by. I'm like, dude, fuck this. So they gave everyone numbers. They gave everyone numbers so that when you can come back, you don't have to wait in any line. You just have to be your number spot and wait for the lower numbers in front of you, and that's it. And you're exactly where you were. So when I got my number, I figured, why not? Let's hop into the Tyler Hoechlin line. So I hop in the Tyler Hoechlin line. Dean Cain comes back. It was just like a star alignment chance of, as I am getting this signed by Tyler Hoechlin, which he decided to stick with the yellow like the others did. So he went over here. As I am getting this signed by Tyler Hoechlin, as that happens, I'm the next number up for Dean Cain. He's finishing with the number in front of me. So I get it signed. I say, thank you, Tyler. Love your man. Love you. Love your show. Have a great day. I have seen most of that show, not the whole thing. I was like, love your show. Have a great day. And I walk 10 feet to the left, and I see Dean Cain show my number, and he's like, hell yeah, this is the coolest thing. And he immediately signs it, and I got a 2-for-1 at that moment. Now, I had waited over an hour in Dean Cain's goddamn line to get this, but like, dude, that was just the most funniest thing ever. Like, you could never have that happen at a convention unless it happened to work out like that. So Dean Cain looks at this thing, knows what I'm doing at this point because there's enough signatures now, and he's like, oh, this is the dopest thing ever. Again, didn't use the word dope, not in my generation. Speaking of generations, that man looks like not a day over 30. Like, and I told him this. I was like, dude, that photo, because they used the 90s era photo of him in the suit. Well, he's standing under it. I'm like, dude, you only look like a few years older than that photo. And he's like, yeah, that's the Asian genetics in me. He's fucking cracking me up. So I asked him, where do you want to go? And he's like, well, nobody's taken Superman, so I'll take him. And he did. And sure enough, Dean Cain is the one that's closest to Superman. So, everyone else missed their shot. There's still space. If I were to ever meet, when I meet David Cornswit one day, he could go right there or wherever he wants to go, wherever it is. So after getting Tyler and Dean back to back, I was like, bet, I only have 2 guys left. So that's it for Friday. I was free as a bird after getting all these signatures, not all of them, and all the ones for Black Flag's game, and finally releasing myself from line hell at Comic-Con. I could walk around and explore things, but at that point I just wanted to go back to the hotel. But I was so happy with how this turned out. But I had 1 day left. Saturday comes along. There are 2 Supermen left that I need to get. Troy Baker's line is longer than Yuri Lowenthal's was on Thursday. It is endless stacks of waves of rows of people going up, left, right, up the wazoo, out the door, back and back in. Insanity for Troy Baker's line. Troy Baker, mind you, you might be thinking, he's not Superman. He voiced him once in a video game, some Crisis video game from the 2010s. I'm going for style points with this thing. I want to meet every single person associated with voicing Superman. I want to meet all of them. Every single one. I want to get this thing loaded. I have my entire life to do it. This is just the start. So I wait in this gargantuan line for endless time. I don't even know how long. At long last, I make it all the way down to Troy Baker. Troy Baker sees this, and he chooses up here on this top corner here. Nobody's gone off the grid yet. He actually dipped his pen into the Action Comics title. Nobody's touched the Action Comics title yet, and nobody's gone off grid yet. They've all been just in the picture. So he's finally breaking some barriers here. And he looks at me after he signs this, looks it up, smiles, and just says, I hope you get that thing filled, man. And I'm like, dude, I would want nothing more in life. And I had mentioned to him, if you have Henry Cavill's number, you could just let me know. And he's like, oh yeah, my people will talk to your people. It was kind of funny. But after that, I only had 1 Superman left. We're talking about Tim Daly, the Superman animated series Superman, the one that George Newbern took the role over for. It's kind of poetic that I started with George Newbern and I'm ending now where it all began with Tim Daly. And I am so excited to meet him. His line isn't that long, all things considered. It was like a tenth the size of Troy Baker's. And so I show him this thing, and he's like, wow, you even got George on there. I was like, George was the first one I got. I kind of wish you were there Thursday, too. So we started talking about it, and he's like, where do you want me to go? And I was like, that's just it. I've asked them all where they want to go. Where do you want to go? And he's like, well, I have to be next to George for obvious reasons. And I asked him what color, and he's like, well, this is incredible, but nobody's chosen red. How about red? Just like his cape. That, in fact, is Tim Daly's signature. And he wrote, because everyone's clarifying, you know, George Newbern's like Superman JL. Yuri Lowenthal's like Losh Superman, which is weird shorthand. Tim Daly just writes Superman under his name. And I was like, oh, don't you write the animated series? He's like, what? I was like, you know, just TAS. He's like, TAS? Do they call it that? I was like, I don't know. I don't use it in that conversation that much where I would know what they call it, but I figured it'd be shorter, right? So, you know, you just start cracking up. But he's a great guy. They all are. They're all really nice people to meet. At long last, at the end of my wild, crazy weekend in Florida, of which I did more than just go to a Comic-Con, it's filled with a day to spare for the convention. I didn't end up going on Sunday because I was all Comic-Conned out from all of this. But, yeah, this was a project that I was really passionate about finally doing, and it came to fruition. All I got to say for the future is that my eyes are open for future Supermen. Nolan North goes to a lot of conventions. He voices animated Superman all the time, so I want to get him next. Notable places that nobody's signed. Again, Action Comics, nowhere in the title. The date at the top there, the issue number at the top there, no one signed any of that. Superman itself, the cape, is wide open. And Weird Dude at the bottom. Like, everyone knows Weird Dude if they know about Superman comics. This is far and away one of the absolute top tier, coolest and most interesting things that I own. And the best part about it is that there's always room to grow. And when there's not room to grow, that means that I'm like 80 years old and I'm selling this for $10 trillion, which is worth like $3 today. So that's my story. And if any of you have the personal cell phone numbers of David Cornsweat or Henry Cavill or the ghost of Christopher Reeve, just hit me up. I'd appreciate it.